When you carry concealed, every move you make either keeps you safe or sets you up for disaster. The difference can be the size of a trigger pull or the slip of a single word. In 2025, with laws tightening and street encounters becoming more unpredictable, carrying a firearm demands discipline and clarity. Too many people treat their pistol like a good luck charm or a toy from an action movie. That mindset is why we see headlines about negligent discharges in grocery store parking lots and why lawyers smile every time someone racks their slide in anger. Carrying concealed is about responsibility control and understanding that your weapon is a last resort lifeline. The mistakes I'm about to walk through are the fastest ways to lose your freedom, your reputation, or worse. Pay attention, because ignoring these lessons could leave you done before the fight even begins. I see it all the time at the range. Somebody pulls me aside with a grin, pats their pistol, and says, "I carry a full metal jacket because it hits harder." That's the kind of thinking that gets people hurt and not the bad guys. Target loads are made for paper steel plates and casual practice. They're cheap, they run reliably, and they punch through with no real expansion. That's fine for a Saturday at the range. It is a disaster when you're defending your life in a crowded gas station or a dimly lit parking lot. Here's the blunt truth. Every bullet you launch is carrying a lawyer on its back. If your round zips through a threat and plants itself in a bystander, you'll be explaining yourself in front of a jury faster than you can say self-defense. Hollow points and modern defensive loads exist for a reason. They expand, they transfer energy, and they reduce the chance of overpenetration. That expansion is what saves the person behind your target from catching a stray hole. Think about it this way. When you carry with target ammo, you're betting that the bad guy will be standing alone, perfectly framed, and that no one will ever be behind him. Life doesn't set up like a range lane. In the real world, there are kids in the aisle cars driving by people ducking for cover. You need ammo that works with you, not against you. Some folks argue that their favorite FMJ feeds better or has more punch. That's like saying you wear flip-flops to a firefight because they're comfortable. Reliability comes from choosing good defensive ammo and testing it in your gun until it cycles smoothly. If you respect your concealed carry gun, you respect what you put in it. Target ammo belongs in training sessions, not in your holster. Defensive loads cost more, sure, but that price is pennies compared to a lawsuit or a funeral. Carry smart. Carry what's meant to save your life, not what was on sale in the bargain bin. Pocket carry sounds simple. Drop the pistol in your pocket, stroll out the door, and you're covered. That's how people end up in the ER, explaining to a nurse why there's a hole where there should never be a hole. A holster isn't an accessory, it's life insurance for your trigger finger. And let's be honest, for your anatomy. There's a true story that still makes the rounds. A guy in Michigan HVAC tech carried his Glock 26 loose in his pocket while on a job, reached in, snagged the trigger, and shot himself right in the family jewels. That's not just painful, that's permanent. And it happened because he decided a $12 pocket holster wasn't worth the trouble. A proper pocket holster does three things. First, it covers the trigger guard completely, which means your keys, your phone, or your restless fingers won't create a negligent discharge. Second, it stabilizes the pistol in your pocket, keeping it upright and ready instead of rolling around like loose change. Third, it breaks up the outline so you don't look like you've stuffed a brick in your jeans. Even the smallest pistols deserve that respect. Take the Ruger LCP2, this little fella that disappears into a front pocket like a candy bar. Cute. Sure, dangerous without a holster. Absolutely. The smaller the gun, the easier it is to mishandle when it shifts, twists, or catches on fabric. I once read a confession from a guy who carried a snub-nosed revolver in his jacket pocket without a holster. One cold night, he reached for his gloves and almost lit up the inside of his coat. Lucky for him, the hammer snagged before the round went off. He admitted later he bought a holster the next morning. The bottom line is simple. A pocket holster costs less than a case of ammo. It adds almost no bulk, and it prevents life-changing accidents. Skipping it is like driving without seatbelts because you're just going down the street. Don't do it. If you respect your carry gun, you respect its trigger. And if you respect the trigger, you always protect it with a holster. There's a dangerous fantasy that too many concealed carriers fall into. They think pulling the gun halfway out of the holster, racking the slide with a dramatic click, or waving it around like a cowboy will scare the bad guy off. In reality, all they've done is brandished a deadly weapon, and most states call that a crime. That's not a power move, that's a fast ticket to court. Here's what people forget. The moment your firearm clears leather, the law already considers it deadly force. There is no halfway category, no gray zone where it's just a warning. If you're not in fear of death or great bodily harm, drawing your gun makes you the aggressor. And prosecutors love those cases because they can hold you up as the irresponsible carrier who thought intimidation was a tactic. Picture this. You pull the pistol, shout something macho, and the attacker doesn't back down. Now you've lost the element of surprise, you've escalated the threat, and you're standing there with a gun you may not even be willing to fire. Hesitation is deadly. Training teaches you that when the draw happens, it's because you are prepared to use it immediately. Hollywood gets this wrong on purpose. In the movies, the hero racks the slide to show he means business. That makes for good cinema. In the real world, you've just wasted a second and broadcast to your opponent that you weren't ready in the first place. Bad guys aren't waiting for your performance. They're already moving. I've read about carriers who admitted they drew early, thinking it would end the fight. One man pulled his pistol in a parking lot during an argument, expecting the other guy to run. Instead, witnesses told police he was the aggressor. He spent more money on legal fees than he ever spent on ammo. The takeaway is crystal clear. Your gun is not a prop. It's not a magic wand that makes threats disappear. Draw only when your life or someone else's life is on the line, and when you've already decided you will use it if you must. Anything less is reckless, dangerous, and stupid. Some folks can't resist running their mouths. They think dropping the line. Don't worry, I've got a gun makes them sound like the alpha in the room. In reality, it makes them sound like the idiot everyone quietly edges away from. You are not John Wayne walking into the saloon. You're just the guy letting strangers know you've got something valuable to steal or report to the cops. The problem is bigger than looking foolish. Telling people you're armed wipes out your element of surprise. Concealed carry works because no one knows until the exact moment you need it. The second you announce it, you've given away your hand. If things turn violent, you've already painted a target on yourself. I once sat in a diner and overheard a man brag to his friends about the pistol on his hip. The table went dead silent. Some people shifted uncomfortably. Others gave him the kind of look usually reserved for someone coughing in an airplane cabin. He thought he was impressing them. What he really did was out himself as reckless. And let's not forget the courtroom. Imagine standing in front of a judge while your buddy testifies. Yeah, he said he had a gun, so we all backed off and let him handle it. That doesn't make you look tough. That makes you look like you used your firearm to intimidate people. Good luck convincing a jury that wasn't your intent. Here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come from announcing you're armed. Confidence comes from knowing you're prepared if the worst happens. Keep your mouth shut, keep your edge, and carry smart. Because the loudest guy in the room isn't the safest one. He's just the one who gets noticed first, and in concealed carry, that's the opposite of winning. If you think your concealed pistol is a tool for settling arguments, you're carrying for all the wrong reasons. Pulling a gun because somebody cut you off in traffic or because your neighbor's dog barked too loud isn't self-defense. It's brandishing. And brandishing gets prosecuted hard. Picture the road rage scenario. Tempers flare, words fly, and suddenly one driver decides to end it by flashing his pistol. In that moment, he's no longer the victim. He's the aggressor. Cops arrive, witnesses point fingers, and it's his mugshot in the booking system. The other guy might have been a jerk, but now the gun carrier is the criminal. The law draws a hard line. Deadly force is justified only when you genuinely believe your life or the life of another is in immediate danger. That means an actual threat, not just your bruised ego. Every prosecutor in the country knows how to tear apart a case where the gun came out because of anger. They'll argue you escalated the situation, and most juries will agree. I remember reading about a man who waved his pistol at a group of teenagers throwing bottles near his property. No one was hurt, but he ended up in handcuffs. The police report didn't care that he felt threatened. What mattered was that he turned a loud annoyance into a gun crime. Here's the ugly truth. When you use your firearm to intimidate, you've just given your enemy two weapons, your gun and your bad judgment. And once the system labels you reckless, it doesn't matter how long you carried responsibly before that day. Avoidance, restraint, and walking away are signs of strength, not weakness. If someone truly pushes you to the edge of fear for your life, then and only then is your weapon an option. Anything less is just losing your temper with a deadly tool in hand. And that is the fastest way to trade your holster for handcuffs. Before we wrap this up, let's rapid fire a few other mistakes that deserve an honorable mention. These aren't the headline disasters, but they're the little habits that quietly set you up for failure. First, neglecting maintenance. I've seen carry guns pulled out with more lint than a dryer vent. If your pistol looks like it's been living in a pocket full of Cheetos dust, clean it. Your life may depend on that trigger actually resetting. Second, skimping on training. Shooting paper once a year doesn't mean you're ready for a life or death encounter. Muscle memory fades faster than you think, and adrenaline has a way of turning range heroes into shaky messes. Third, bad gear choices. A cheap belt or floppy holster is like bolting a Ferrari engine onto a tricycle. It doesn't matter how good your firearm is if it's flopping around like a fish in your waistband. And finally, bragging online. Posting your brand new blaster with hashtags isn't tactical. It's advertising yourself to thieves and critics. Keep your carry private, not trending. These quick hits might sound small, but together they draw a line between the carrier who's prepared and the carrier who's just playing dress-up. Don't be the latter. So there you have it, the mistakes that can wreck your freedom, your safety, and your future if you ignore them. Carrying concealed is about discipline, not ego, and every choice you make with that firearm matters. If you learned something today, hit the thumbs up, share this with a friend who carries, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop your own carry stories in the comments. I read them all, and they fuel future videos. Thanks for hanging out, stay sharp, carry smart, and I'll see you on the next one.